Assalamu alaikum everybody. So today we're going to be reading about Hazrat Muhammad's kindness. The personality of Hazrat Muhammad is a role model for all mankind. He was a man who embodied values of kindness, generosity and humility in all his interactions. The way he dealt with his neighbors, peers and family serves as an example for us today. Not only Hazrat Muhammad was loved by those in his community, but he was also respected by communities far and wide for treating people with kindness. During the early years of preaching Islam, Hazrat Muhammad suffered torture daily at the hands of an unpleasant neighbor. This neighbor was an old woman who threw rubbish on him whenever he passed by her house. Every day, Hazrat Muhammad tolerated this harassment silently. He never showed any sign of anger or hatred for the cruel woman. He only prayed that she might find the right path. One day, Hazrat was surprised when no one threw any waste on him while walking on his route. This made him inquire about the old woman. He found out that she was ill and immediately went to visit her. When the old woman saw him, she feared that he had finally come to seek revenge for all her unkindness. Unlike her expectations, Hazrat did no such thing. He offered her any help she needed and wished her well. He told her that Islam made it obligatory on all Muslims to care about the well-being of their neighbors. Inspired and touched by Hazrat's sympathy and mercy, the old woman felt guilty for all her evil treatment towards Allah's Rasul and embraced Islam immediately. Other incidents from Hazrat's life teaches us several lessons about how we must treat our fellow companions. Once Hazrat saw a slave crying as he crushed grains from a mill. The mill was driven by hand and required a lot of strength. When Hazrat saw the slave crying, he stopped in his path and asked him the reason. The slave told him that he was ill and did not have energy to run the mill properly. He was scared of his master, who would punish him if the work was left incomplete. When Allah's Rasul Hazrat saw his fear and distress, he stepped forward and ground all the remaining grains. Always call me if you have any grains to grind. I will do it for you, he said to the slave. Even at home with his wives and children, Hazrat maintained a perfect character. The way he treated all his relatives with warmth and concern shows us the importance of being good to our family. Hazrat would always do work around the house instead of having people do it for him. His wife, Aisha has reported that he would spend his time at home doing tasks such as sewing patches, mending shoes, or milking the goat. He never favored one family member over another. He loved everyone equally and enjoyed spending time at home. Following Hazrat Muhammad's examples, we must prefer the needs and sentiments of our neighbors, friends, and family before we think of ourselves. If we are kind and generous in our interactions with those around us, we will be able to bring happiness and peace into our community. Next. Hazrat Muhammad's kindness and forgiveness. More than 1,400 years ago in Arabia, people lived in fear. They were afraid of their neighbors and other tribes. They were even afraid of their idols. The Arabs worshipped idols in their ignorance. They would bury their newly born daughters alive. As Islam began to spread among the Arabs, such cruel practices stopped. Islam teaches love and peace. It teaches kindness and respect. Hazrat Muhammad himself was very kind and loving. He treated everyone young and old with kindness and respect. Hazrat spread the word of Allah and change societies positively. Many Arabs with a negative thinking felt that because of the positivity of Hazrat Sallam, their old idols and they themselves were losing power. They turned against Hazrat Sallam. They started harassing him in any possible way. An old woman used to throw rubbish on him whenever he passed by her house. Once in front of her house. He had to pass that house daily on his way to the mosque, to the masjid. Even when the old women threw rubbish on him, he would pass silently without becoming angry. This became a regular daily event. One day, when Hazrat Muhammad was passing by, the woman was not there to throw any rubbish on him. He stopped and asked her neighbor about her well-being. The neighbor told Hazrat Muhammad that the woman was sick. Hazrat Muhammad politely asked permission to visit the woman. When allowed, he entered the house. The woman thought that he had come to seek revenge, but Hazrat Muhammad assured her that he had come not to take any revenge, but to inquire about her health and her needs. If any, as it was the command of Allah that if people are sick, a Muslim should visit and help them. The old woman was gently moved by his kindness and love. She was convinced that Hazrat was truly the Rasul of Allah and Islam was the true religion. Therefore, she embraced Islam immediately. On another occasion, Hazrat Muhammad was on a journey and Hazrat Muhammad chose to take rest under the shade of a small tree. One of his enemies, seeing that Hazrat Muhammad was alone and planned to kill him, quickly he went towards him, took out his sword and asked Hazrat Muhammad, "Tell me, who can save you now?" Allah replied, Hazrat Muhammad calmly with confidence. Seeing the confidence, the man was frightened and the sword fell from his hand. With the same calm, the Rasul Hazrat took the sword in his own hand and asked, Now you tell me, who will save you?" "No one," replied the enemy. "No, you are wrong. The same Allah will save you now who saved me," said the generous Rasul Hazrat, and let the man go free. Moved by this noble act, the man embraced Islam immediately. Next, fair dealing of Hazrat Muhammad. Hazrat Muhammad was always fair and honest in his business, in his dealings with other people. Even before his nubuwwat, he was known as the truthful and the trustworthy. In his young age, he became a trader. He traded with other people's money with great care and was very successful. The people of Makkah were much impressed by his trading skills and fair dealing. They had complete trust in him. It was his honesty and fair dealing in business that impressed Hazrat Khadija radhiyallahu anha. She first entrusted her enterprise to him and later married him. All the people who had done business dealings with him before his nubuwwat had always praised his honesty and fair dealing. The Rasul Hazrat gave great importance to fair dealing in business throughout his life and set himself as a role model for the whole world. Many incidents can be quoted from the life of Hazrat Muhammad to show how just and fair he was in his business dealings with other people. Once the Rasul Hazrat Muhammad borrowed a camel from someone and returned a better one. Then Hazrat Muhammad said, "The best people are those who pay off their debts joyfully." The Rasul Hazrat always instructed his companions to be fair in business dealings in their practical life. Hazrat Abu Said reported the Rasul Hazrat Muhammad as saying, the truthful and trustworthy merchant